through healthcare, several states have filed suit in their respective courts to remove the funding or to deem it unconstitutional in their respective states. Are you in favor of either of these tactics, and would you be supportive of the repeal at a U.S. congressional level?
Yes, I do support those states' efforts, and it's unfortunate that we don't have an Attorney General here in Ohio who's willing to join them. Number two, would I support the repeal if elected to Congress? Absolutely. I think that's what we've got to shoot for, repealing the measure before it goes into place. If that doesn't come to pass because we don't have a large enough majority to do so, then we should talk about not funding the program. Because it seems
You have 10 minutes. The floor is
10 minutes. Patty.
Hi. Okay. They were saying on the news about they have somebody that's doing a think tank of tapping into our 401k and taking it. What do you think about the government going in?
Sorry, you have to ask.
I'm sorry too.
Yes.
I mean, I worked hard for that.
Absolutely.
And I've been putting in for my retirement, and I had to wait a long time to do that because my husband had a heart attack some years ago.
Absolutely.
So, and I almost lost everything. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I think you've pretty much outlined the situation. You've worked hard for that, and you've put the money aside there for years, and therefore, as far as I'm concerned, it's yours. It does not belong to the federal government. Let me tell you, this opens up real quick comment on Social Security, but does that is the answer. Obviously, they should not be tapping your retirement to pay for all the new spending ideas that you didn't support in the first place. But redistribution of wealth, someone said back here. What Social Security, this is an interesting fact that during this campaign that I come to know that I didn't. Evidently, of course, with the situation with Social Security, we always heard that years out ahead it would be in the red and it wouldn't be there when I came to retire and so on. Well, I didn't realize it, but I guess back in September, for the first time in 20-some years, Social Security actually paid out $4.7 billion than what it took in. Yep. And it did so similarly each month after that. Now it's estimated it'll be $100 billion in the hole here within the next few years. Now, obviously, something has to be done. And what kind of change would you bring about in that particular situation? I think we're going to have to be very realistic, and we're going to have to say to people, listen, if you're 50 or older, and I'm just choosing that age, we'd have to see what the number had to be, but hopefully it wasn't any later than that. But if you're 50 or older, you're going to get all the benefits that you were promised, and all the benefits that you expected to be there. But you know what? If you're 21 and you're just starting out, you've got a lifetime, a career ahead of you, and you need to start planning now because the benefit's not going to be the same as mom and dad and grandma and grandpa's. Not only that, you're healthier, you're living longer. So you know what? You're not going to be able to retire as young as grandma and grandpa and mom and dad did. I think those are things you've got to look at, and personal retirement accounts as well. This is where your question triggered the thought. I didn't realize it, but I guess several years ago the Supreme Court ruled that the Social Security benefit you are not entitled to, and that it is owned by the government. So they could choose to deny that if they would like. Interesting, because these personal retirement accounts, they would be owned by the individual. You would be in charge of much of direction of where they went, but it would be your nest egg. Time?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. Well, okay, I'll take a couple.
Yeah, say like the fair tax I heard you talk about.
Yes.
We know that would be a hard situation to have accomplished. Would you be in favor of reducing taxes? Because I can see where that would be a benefit. Employees would receive more money, and then the companies would be able to, they would be able to employ people who would actually, their dollars would be lower, but they would have more home income.
Have some more expendable income. Absolutely. No, I think if you followed any of things that I've had to say over the last couple of months, or even my literature, yes, absolutely would support tax cuts, keeping the Bush tax cuts permanent, looking at the elimination of the death tax, the alternative minimum tax. I think the reality is that's how you stimulate an economy. You don't stimulate an economy by increasing the size of government and the spending of the government. Absolutely. And I think if you did have some doubts as to whether or not that was the case, your government just spent a whole lot of money, and I haven't seen the jobs rushing to our communities. Have you?
No.
Although I guess there will be a few more IRS agents come here soon.
Yeah, 16,000
So I want to
IRS.
fill out your application. Yes.
You talked about drilling for oil. How do you feel about much maligned coal, which gives us 89% of our energy in Ohio and 52% for the natives?
Well, I think that's part of the reason why any of these guys that stand up here should oppose cap and trade. Because when 90% of our energy is coming from coal-powered plants, it's probably not a good idea to start taxing it to death, is it? And so I think without question we have to support that, not only for the fact that it will have an impact on all of our energy costs, but quite honestly, it's a major part of Ohio's economy. So, all right.
How about farm subsidies to the big corporate farms?
Oh, what a question. Especially living here in the agricultural area. Well, I'll tell you what, just the other night I got lectured for a very long time by a young farm woman who was telling me that we absolutely needed, now what was her issue? She was upset about the price of milk, the price she was getting paid for milk. The bottom line is, and the best I can offer you, and I apologize if it isn't adequate, not knowing the details of all the specific programs, it would not be wise for me to answer cleverly. So I'm going to say this. If you followed anything that I've done as a commissioner, I've always tried to get the government out of your life and out of the operations of our free economy. Now, I would simply, the bottom line is I would have to know more details. The truth is you can, let's face it, you're right. Some of the wealthiest farmers in America are also getting the largest subsidies from the federal government. A couple of years ago, it was Sam Donaldson, multi-million. You remember Sam Donaldson, the anchor at a ranch out west, and he was one of the largest recipients of federal government agricultural subsidies. And obviously, there's an issue there. Now, like I say, not knowing the ins and outs, I hesitate to give a concrete answer, but the principle is the government needs to be involved as in a limited way as possible. And if you would like afterwards, I'd be glad to talk to you to hear what your response to that would be. Yes.